Welcome on into the Wolverine recruiting podcast. Barbecue at the Big House was over the weekend on Sunday. Tons to come out of that, including a commitment. Clayton Safety here with EJ Holland. A little bit of a quieter barbecue at the Big House, EJ, but kind of all eyes were on top 100 quarterback Jaydn Davis, one of the top quarterbacks in 2024. You put in a prediction for Michigan to land him heading in. They had some buzz earlier in the summer when he visited. Huge to get him and his family back on campus. He posted the photo of him and his entire family with Jim Harbaugh and all that. Seems like things went well. What is the latest with Jaydn Davis, four-star quarterback in 2024 out of Providence Day in Charlotte, North Carolina?
Yeah, Michigan definitely rolled out the red carpet after missing on Dante Moore, five-star quarterback in Michigan's own backyard earlier this cycle, and kind of balking with legacy recruit CJ Carr. Jaydn Davis has become the guy at quarterback. I mean, they've offered no other 2023 quarterbacks. The other 2024 quarterbacks they've offered are on the back burner for now as they continue to make a full court press for Jaydn Davis. A lot of people have been asking where's Jim Harbaugh this cycle. He's been involved in quite a few recruitments, but I think he's really, really taking ownership of Jaydn Davis. He realizes, hey, we missed on Dante. It's last cycle was more of project takes in Alex Orji and Jaden Denigol. We need to land an elite signal caller. And I've always said if Michigan's going to get Jaydn Davis, they need Jim Harbaugh to step up and close the deal. Now, the flip side of the coin is Matt Weiss, who hasn't been known as a guy that really loves recruiting, has been more of an X's and O's guy. But that's okay in this recruitment. Jaydn Davis told me that he's not really valuing the relationship he has with the quarterbacks coach as much as he's valuing how much he can learn and how he can develop for the NFL. When you look at Harbaugh, obviously, he played quarterback in the NFL. He coached in the NFL. Matt Weiss obviously coached in the NFL. So that's something that really resonates with Davis. He told me he kind of broke things down in regards to the offense during his first visit with Matt Weiss and was just really, really impressed with his football acumen. So that's something that stands out to Davis is the ability to play for a former NFL quarterback at head coach, and then the ability to play for a quarterbacks coach that has coached in the league. So those are some things that stand out. But on top of that, I just think that Michigan created a family feel this weekend. As you mentioned, Davis tweeted out a picture of literally his entire family. I know his parents were there, but it looked like some extended relatives made the trip as well. And that shows you how much Davis is interested in Michigan. I mean, to take that much family out on an unofficial visit where you have to pay your own way, I think speaks volumes for Michigan. And right now, I think Michigan has the lead coming out of the visit. I know Michigan was trying to close with Davis this weekend. Obviously, no public commitment was made, and Davis has talked about taking his official visits going into his senior year. But again, Michigan is pushing. They'd like to get him on board sooner rather than later. Davis would be that marquee guy to help recruit other top talent to Michigan, and they really haven't had a guy at the most important position in football doing that since JJ McCarthy a few cycles ago. So I think Jaydn Davis has that type of name value, that type of personality that can attract others. So Michigan definitely pushing. Again, haven't offered any other 23s, kind of cooled on some of the other 24s. It would be pretty disappointing if Michigan doesn't land Jaydn Davis. But again, I do think the Wolverines lead coming out of the visit. We'll see if they can close it, before he does make those official visits. Georgia, Clemson are some schools that are involved, and you don't want to let this go longer to where those schools become even more of a threat. So I like what Michigan has done so far. They just need to find a way to seal the deal.
You made an interesting point about, if he were to hop on early, let's say in a month or so, then he's kind of the leader of that 2024 class. You have momentum there. I know they already have a couple commitments, but that would be kind of the opposite of 2023, where you weren't able to land Dante Moore. He wasn't able to be that leader. The class has struggled. And then you've talked about it and written about this as well, where because the class isn't that highly rated, it's harder to get guys. I mean, they don't want to join, not a great class. They want to join an elite class and play with a bunch of guys that are going to, win a ton of games. How important do you think that is? I know there's been talk of Jaydn Davis potentially reclassifying to 2023, but do you feel like best case would probably be he just sticks in his class so they can start out kind of anew in the next cycle?
No, I could definitely see it either way. I mean, on the flip side of the coin, he could help Michigan close late in 2023, especially with what Michigan was able to do last cycle. I think that's possible given the schedule and the guys Michigan has returning this year. I really do believe Michigan should be undefeated heading into the game against Ohio State. So they could have a similar close as last cycle, and having Davis in the 23 class would definitely help with that. But I can see the counter argument as well. You let him stay in 2024. JJ takes the reins eventually, and then it's kind of Davis's show, and then on top of that, he helps build a monster 2024 class. I mean, the barbecue was loaded with several top wide receivers and just skill players in general. So in 2024, so I think that Davis can definitely help put together a special class. And if Michigan takes care of business on the field, that's back to back, really, really strong season. So I think that that'll obviously help with recruiting. But like I said, I think Michigan just needs a JJ McCarthy type of guy, not just from a talent perspective, but from a recruiting leadership perspective. And Davis can be that guy.
Let's talk about a guy Michigan did close with at the barbecue, and Evan Link, 4-star offensive tackle. An interesting one because he was supposed to come in early in June and then wasn't able to make it due to illness, I believe it was. Then you look at the weekend visitor list that everybody was reporting, including yourself. He wasn't on it, but turns out he made kind of a covert trip to Michigan for the barbecue. Loved it. Loved Sharon Moore and what he had to offer. Decides to give a silent commitment, and he popped early on Monday morning around 10:50 a.m. And there you have it. Michigan has kind of a surprise guy, and something that fans have been waiting for is looking at who's trending where. Evan Link wasn't really a guy that was talked about a ton. He's ranked as the number 125 overall player according to On3, number 285 on the On3 consensus. So just a big land. And Michigan's offensive line recruiting has been a little slow this cycle. People are asking questions, why is Sharon Moore, who was known as one of the top recruiters on staff, not closing with more guys? He had a couple slip through the cracks there, but this is a big one for Sharon Moore and company.
Yeah, I think I'm not exactly sure why Link was kind of kept so quiet, but obviously that's the way, the kid wanted it and the staff wanted it. He really flew under the radar. He actually got there before the barbecue at the big house started. So it was a 2-day unofficial visit where they kind of treated it like an official visit. You mentioned he was supposed to come in June for an OV. It didn't work out because he actually had a personal emergency. But this was a terrific job by Sharon Moore, not only to just get him on campus, but to take the lead over Penn State, which had been considered the heavy leader for most of the recruiting cycle, and then close with a commitment. I mean, like I've said, Sharon Moore hasn't forgotten how to recruit. He's long been considered one of the top recruiters on staff. Yes, he has some additional responsibilities as co-offensive coordinator. He has some stuff going on in his personal life. He just had a newborn. So I think that right now Moore's just starting to kind of get a hang of how to balance everything. And it's hard to be the co-offensive coordinator, offensive line coach, and ace recruiter. You don't really see that very often across the entire country on any coaching staff. But I think if there's a guy that's capable of recruiting at a very high level while having those demanding on the field responsibilities, it's Sharon Moore. And he has as much as people have complained about offensive line recruiting, as many targets that have flown off the board. Michigan has 2 great pieces right now. Evan Link, a top 150 prospect, a true tackle. And then you have one of the safest takes as an interior offensive lineman and consensus 4-star, Amir Herring. So I think that's a really good duo heading into fall where Moore has kind of reset the board. And again, with another strong season, I could see Sharon getting some other top tier offensive linemen to commit as well. So Link was definitely a pleasant surprise. I think he's a guy that could start off in the interior, but like I said, likely projects as more of a true tackle at the next level. I think he's a really safe take as well, really technically sound, plays at a great program in the DMV. So a lot to like about Link and a lot to like about just the land in general.
Yeah, from a team perspective, Michigan has a lot of guys that sometimes are a tackle recruit, but you're seeing a lot of them rep at guard and on the interior in practice. This is potentially the opposite, and it's important to have some true tackles in the fold. And speaking of that, another guy at that position who was on campus for the barbecue, Caleb Lomu, 4-star offensive tackle out of Gilbert, Arizona. Actually, the number 82 overall player on 3, number 8 offensive tackle in the country, ranked a little bit lower on the on-3 consensus, which is equally weighted between all 4 of the recruiting services. He's at number 202 there, but seems like Michigan made some momentum at the barbecue.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think Moore has kind of reset the board. So Lomu was more of a recent offer, but Michigan definitely has his attention early on. This was an unofficial visit again, which means Lomu paid his own way all the way from Arizona, which is a positive sign, and then he'll be back on campus for an official visit in September. I think Moore did a fantastic job with Lomu. I think Michigan is right up there at the very top of his list, despite jumping in late. The school I'm kind of concerned about here is Oregon. Oregon just offered as well. So it's not like the Ducks have been recruiting him or from an offer perspective have been recruiting him for a long time. Oregon does concern me just because, even though Arizona geographically is a little further from Oregon than some of the other West Coast schools, it still gives him an opportunity to stay out west, to play in who knows what conference that's going to be, but to play against other West Coast teams closer to home. And then Oregon has a really, really good offensive line coach in Adrian Clem. From a recruiting perspective, he's a guy that I've covered in my previous beats, and I know he does a fantastic job as well. And Oregon's obviously doing NIL really well this cycle, as well as Michigan has seen in its battles with Oregon throughout the year. So Oregon is concerning for several reasons, but at the same time, I think the barbecue visit went as well as it could have gone. I think Moore is starting to kind of get that energy back on the recruiting trail, and I think Michigan's offensive line will have another dominant season. I mean, you have a lot of guys back, and then those guys do a fantastic job of recruiting as well. Like Zach Zinter is always involved in visits, and I think that can play a role as well. Some of the other offensive line recruits that I talked to this weekend mentioned the team chemistry or just the cohesion along the offensive line. And I think that's appealing to some of these other guys as well, including Lomu. So we'll see how the official visit goes. We'll see how much Oregon really, ramps things up with him. But right now, I would say Michigan is definitely in his top 2.
And then finally, moving on to the defensive backfield, where Michigan had a couple top targets there, Jair Hill and Chris Peal. What is the latest on those two coming out of the barbecue?
Yeah, 2 major targets here. Peal and Hill both at the very tip top of the cornerback board. Starting off with Jair Hill. He's on 300 prospect, one of the most versatile recruits in the entire country. Does a little bit of everything for his high school team, from quarterback to receiver to corner to safety to return man. I mean, he does it all. He's an explosive, or the most explosive high school player in the state of Illinois. I love his length. I mean, he's 6'2", 175 pounds. Just a really springy athlete, and he's the type of guy that Steve Klingscale in his previous stop has turned into an NFL, a high NFL draft pick. So I think that Jair Hill is a guy that's kind of been a little bit all over the place on his recruitment. He was considered a heavy Michigan lean early on. Illinois has risen up as a top contender here. It's very, very close to home. They've done a fantastic job with his mom. They've made it clear that he's their number one overall guy. But at the same time, Michigan's a superior program. They did have some changes that didn't sit well with Hill's mother, including Harbaugh's flirtation with the NFL, Ron Bellamy moving from being the primary recruiter on defense to coaching wide receivers. But at the same time, Klink has picked up, where Bellamy left off, and I think he's doing a fantastic job. I think this visit was really important because Hill's mother, got more comfortable with Klink, more comfortable with Harbaugh, and more comfortable with the Michigan program itself. So it's crazy to say that this is a 50-50 battle with Illinois, but that's kind of what it is right now. I think Michigan just needs to keep chipping away, but Klink has been a proven recruiter, and I think he knows how to win this battle. And defensive coordinator Jesse Minter has been heavily involved there as well, and has been really making some movement as of late. On the flip side of the coin, top 100 cornerback Chris Peal, same high school as Jaydn Davis. So, that would be, depending on if they are able to get Davis on board soon, that could definitely help with Peal. If Davis waits it out and Michigan gets Peal, that could help with Davis. So obviously, two highly touted teammates on campus, along with some others at Providence Day School out in Charlotte. But looking at Peal, I mean, he is everything you want in a corner, very technically sound, speedy corner. Michigan really, really wants speed at the corner position this cycle. Again, that's really what Peal offers. He's been a top target for Klink for a long time, but this is the first time he's ever made it to Michigan. I know he had a great visit. Peal's pretty quiet, doesn't talk a ton unless you got to see him in person. But I know Michigan is right up there in his recruitment. They are getting him back for an official visit for the game against UConn in September. If that official visit goes really well, I could see Michigan moving into the pole position. Georgia has been considered the leader for Peal for a while now, but they've kind of are filling up a little bit in the secondary. They've got a handful of commits. They landed a top 100 cornerback this summer in Daniel Harris. So I think that Michigan, with no defensive back commits right now, and Klink making it clear that he's a top tier target on the corner board, is really resonating. So I do think that there's room there for Michigan to take command of this recruitment. That's definitely a guy that I could see getting into class later on as we head into the fall. But overall, I thought the barbecue at the Big House, it was quiet. There was only one commit in Evan Link, but they kind of set themselves up well with some of the targets we talked about today.
And last thing for me, I mean, I saw someone ask this on the message board, but do you know what kind of barbecue they had and what the menu was like for this thing?
I think they just had, you would know more than me, Clay, because you're more familiar with the Ann Arbor scene. I think it was Slow's barbecue, but do not quote me on that. I'm not 1,000% sure, but I know they tried their best to make it a real cookout style. They had the pictures with the backyard truck and the grill and stuff. So. But I think that's what it was. So they, I'm from Texas, so barbecue down here is a little different than barbecue in the Midwest. But so I'm not exactly sure. I've never had Slows. Maybe you've had. I'm not exactly sure what they had.
Yeah, it's a polarizing topic, and I even saw the thread about on the message board. Some people were like, "Oh, it's not good." Some people said it's good. I thought it was good, but again, I haven't been to like places like Memphis and Texas and stuff like that to try it. But I think it might have been Slows. You're right. Somebody said that, and so interesting there. It seems like people enjoyed it and everything. So
there were no bad reviews of the food, which is good.
Banana pudding.
No banana pudding. We had last year, for some of our new listeners, we had the banana pudding fiasco where visitors complained about how bad the banana pudding was. So there was no complaining this year.
It's like, if you don't really like banana pudding, I mean, just don't get the banana pudding. That'd be my suggestion. But there you have it. Barbecue at the Big House, another one in the books. Now it's on to Michigan hosting guys for games. As you mentioned, EJ with a couple guys coming in this fall, so that'll be interesting to follow. stay up to date on Michigan football recruiting at thewolverine.com. We still have our $1 deal preseason special. So you just pay $1 your first year at thewolverine.com. All your premium access is just $1. Thanks to Matthew Hutchinson producing for us. Hutch, appreciate him. And we'll see everyone next time.